sometimes when that happens, she's not able to come and play the next morning if she has one at nighttime. So she's not here with us today. So if you don't know who Jessica is, she's our music director. So she's not here today. So we are part of this service today will be about you helping me craft the service by asking questions. So we're taking this a step forward with the music today too. So things will be a bit more in process today. So I invite you now to just take a moment to arrive in this space and allow yourselves to be here in this moment on this day, on this beautiful, unique day. And I'm going to just ring this for us, and then you can play. So let the sound of the chime bring you into this place.
Can I restart for a second?
Thank you. Welcome to all of you. I think, can we clap one more time, actually? Okay. Yay. Yeah. And in a way, Jessica is here with us because you are one of Jessica's piano students. So if you don't know where you are or who I am, you are at the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax or Chibuktuk. You are here this morning in this place. You are in a building which is not a building, but it is a congregation of people who are gathered in it that make it the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax. You create that by your coming together. Otherwise, this is just an old, musty, beautiful heritage building in Halifax without you, the people. You make it a congregation. You make it a spiritual community, a community of transformation and beauty by your coming together in this space to intentionally ask questions about what it means to lead a meaningful, deep life. By coming together in this space to ask questions of what it means to be alive for a short period of time, and how you can use that short period of time to make this world more beautiful and more just and more loving by your being in it. Riley, could you turn that light off? Please. We are here. We enter into this space not to come here and leave just as we were, to be unchallenged. We come here to be challenged. Maybe you didn't come here to be challenged this morning. But I set for you the purpose this morning that you come here to be challenged in your assumptions about the world. You come here to have your assumptions challenged and to find that your orientation to the world, your beliefs, your way of seeing things, or knowing things or perceiving things will be changed by those you encounter. If you are not changed by being here, then I think that something has not gone quite the way that it was intended to. And what I mean by that is we might have fallen short a bit of what we are here to do if we don't change each other at least a little bit every day and move each other to be better. I'm going to light our chalice for us this morning. Before I do, I had a brief reading for us. And it says this simply. This is by Frank Holmes. It says, "Life does not call us merely to do over and over again what has already been done, nor does it call us to act out as puppets, parts already assigned to us. No. In the midst of a situation which is itself ever-changing, we are free to bring into realization new relationships of understanding and goodwill and new acts of courage. Life does not call us merely to do over and over again what we have already done. Even if you get up and you brush your teeth every morning at the same time and have your coffee or your tea or your juice or water at the same time, life does not call us to do those things over and over again. It calls us to see the elements that are before us and to see them in new ways. For instance, we light a chalice in this congregation every Sunday, as many UU congregations do. We kindle a flame in the room together. We use fire as a symbol of our faith, of our movement. Fire being a very potent symbol of light and beauty and life and transformation. But right now, here for us in Nova Scotia, fire takes on a new meaning this morning because of everything that is going on. We're reminded that within everything there is the potential for growth and transformation and destruction. That within all of us is the potential for beauty and love and missteps and harm. And that is how we use the elements that we have been given. We use the gifts that we have been given in our lives in new and unique and meaningful ways. That is what we do together. We discover what is within us, even if we think we know already. Do we have somebody delivering a land acknowledgement for us this morning on Zoom? Oh, okay. Mary Frances is going to share some words about the truth of this place with us this morning. Feel free to come over here. Yeah, I'm going to first turn it on the bottom, and then make sure it's not muted. There you go. Sorry. Okay.
We are gathered here today in Chibuktuk in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Acknowledging the Mi'kmaq ancestral territory is our way of showing respect for and honoring our shared treaty relationship. I think over the past week, we've had a collective stress and sadness related to the wildfires. And I think for our climate crisis team and for all of us, we can kind of see that direct link between climate change and these events. And also, given the rarity of wildfires in our province, I think it's even more shocking and confusing for some. So I wanted to share a short poem by Rupi Kaur to help address these feelings. Like the rainbow after the rain, joy will reveal itself after sorrow.
Did it go off? We're reminded of our commitments by our coming together, and we are reminded that we are here with others to pursue those commitments, to reveal the joy after the sorrow and all of those moments of life. Take a moment now to greet those that you are gathered here with. Say hello to your neighbors, the people you are gathered with.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, everyone. Good to see everybody.
Morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning from Morristown. Hi.
Hey from Morristown. Great to see everybody. Everybody fared okay this week? A stressful week, eh?
Yep, terrible, terrible.
Good morning, all.
Morning, Mary Lou.
Hey, Mary Lou.
I have company, so I'm Zooming church today.
Well, great to have you. And Angela, how are you
I'm
doing?
non-Unitarian company.
Angela, how are things where you are?
Well, we had a scare Friday night. It was bright sunshine. And then at 5 o'clock, it was like it just turned black and the smoke was thick and there were ashes coming down from the sky. And we started packing things up and thought there was a new fire, but it was actually from the Barrington fires, which is like maybe, I don't know, 20 miles away.
We're here from the many various paths that we travel in our lives, come together in this place to seek meaning and purpose together. I think we can do this without accompaniment. So I'm going to invite you to rise in body or in spirit and sing our opening song, which is Here Together. You did get lyrics if you need them. And we don't have accompaniment, but I think most of you should know this by now, and we'll try our best, okay? All right, ready? 1, 2. We are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. We are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful for the winding road that brought us to this place. Wonderful. Today we are going to, so this is a good service to have things mixed up because today, I called today's service Lingering Questions, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But the reason I called it Lingering Questions is because since you only have a few more services with me, here is your interim minister, and that change came unexpectedly, wasn't planned for, but is what life has brought my way and brought our way. I figured that we might want some time for you to be able to ask me any lingering questions that you have. So the invitation in a bit in just a few minutes into the service will be that if you have any questions for me, so we did a question service about a month or so ago, maybe a little bit more than that now. And that's a common thing in UU congregations a couple of times a year or so to do a question service where people can ask questions. And I'll say more about that in a bit, but this is a follow-up to that for anyone who had questions that day that didn't get answered or has new ones or has some things that they want to ask me in response to some of the themes that I've talked about while I've been with you as your interim. So we'll come back to that in a few minutes. But right now, I was going to have us sing a song. Do you feel, did you want to play the other song that you mentioned? You mentioned, no, okay. It's all right. Just checking. So we're going to move into our joy, sorrows, and complex truths portion of the service now. Before we do, I'm just going to invite you to let yourselves settle in your seats. To join me in a moment of, in the spirit of mindfulness and contemplation, the spirit of what some know as prayer, Others know simply as reminding themselves that they are alive and present to life in this moment. So allow yourself to be here. It's a common misconception, I think, that to pray or to meditate or to be spiritual or holy requires being holier than thou, rather than simply just being alive and present. We might think that to notice what is important, we need to have the right belief or find the right method. Or read the right manual. And while instructions in life can be useful, instruction, yeah, yeah.
How do you like to be addressed?
Oh,
Say Reverend Israel or Reverend Bufardi or what?
whatever makes you most comfortable is what you're welcome to call me. Either one, any of those are fine, and so is just Israel too is fine. What is most important, I think, rather than knowing exactly what to call something or someone or each other, is being present with one another, and how the attention and the intention that we bring to any situation, our presence that we bring to it. And so what we do in these moments is not try to know or do exactly what something or someone has told us is right, but to simply show up with intention. And with the desire to connect to each other and to connect with something that is greater than ourselves. Or maybe even just the desire to know that you are alive, and that matters. So I'm going to shut up now so you can be alive together. invite you to sing with me if number 123 in the hymnals, if you need the words and you need a hymnal, the gray hymnals. Number 123 is Spirit of Life. If you don't need a hymnal, I'm letting you know, just you might not need the hymnal for that one. Okay. Okay. When you're 123, 123, when you're ready to sing, touch your nose. Or maybe not everyone should touch their nose. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. With all that, please be seated. With all that you bring to life on this day, with all that you are carrying, know that just as you don't need to do everything exactly the right way, that we all bring various things to this space, combinations of gladness and sorrow, feelings that are in process and things that are too complex to put into any one category. And the purpose of community is to hold each other in that space and to lift each other up when we sink, to surround each other when we need to be surrounded. And that is our well of community. It is the place where we gather to draw strength and to be held and to be nourished. One of the ways we do that is by sharing with each other out loud, to either make things real by saying them or to let each other know how we need help, to just share so that our burdens might be lightened a little bit, or to just share, or to share those things that we are glad about. So if you have something on your heart this morning that you'd like to share with us, I invite you to come up and to put a stone in the well and to share briefly with us your joy, sorrow, or complex truth.
Good morning. I just want to share. I'm sure you also share the same feelings of sorrow and hope for all the people who've been affected by these terrible fires. Thank you.
Joys and sorrows.
Yes, yeah. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Some of you may have heard his I have a great joy in my baby great grandson. He speaks English with his mother, French with his father, and somehow he has picked up a song in German. Freude, schöne Götterfunken, Tochter aus Elysium. Wir betreten freudetrunken, himmlische dein Heiligtum. He knows it this far, and then he keeps repeating and running around singing, Freude, Freude, that means joy.
Hi, everybody. I think you all received the email regarding symbolism of our chalice. And one of them, or a series of them, were the boat series symbolism. I remember in my business ethics class back in 1978, and one of the questions was, if you're in a boat and it's full and there's more out there in the water, what do we do? I hope it floats.
I had a fall about 10 days ago, and I'm having difficulty getting around. So I'm relying on other people to drive me. Okay, I'm having difficulty getting around, and I need help with people driving me. So I was really relying on walking to the bus, walking to other places, and I can't do that now.
Hello.
It's on. Just gotta hold it close to your near. It's on.
It's on. Hello. Hello, everybody.
Just hold it a little closer to your. Yeah, it just needs to be close to your.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. And this is first time I standing forward you and speaking. I want from when I child, I want speaking in front of many peoples, understand? But in our country, I had no this chance, right? Please help to me for speaking.
Yeah.
I understood little English.
Okay.
And practice. If
Yeah.
it's the no, it's a here, it's a
Yeah.
if when I speaking, if my word is false, say to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sure. Yes.
Understanding other people.
Okay.
I learned English from Molly Hurt and Lars Osberg and Emilia Hurt, grammar and sentences and speaking, a little speaking. Now I can speaking, a little speaking. Next time I can speak more.
Hmm?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Your native language. Farsi is native
Farsi.
language is Farsi. Farsi, Farsi.
They say that when you learn a new language, you're sort of seeing the world in a new way because you're seeing the world anew, new for the world, a different way of looking at the world and seeing things and experiencing things. For all of those ways that we expand our minds by learning new things, communicating in new ways with new people, for the challenges in our own community, for the people whose safety and livelihoods and homes are threatened right now, for the people working tirelessly to protect them, and for the much, much needed rain, for all of the things that help us float. For the water that heals and feeds and nourishes us all, and for life itself on this day. I want to invite you now to take some time to think about any lingering questions that you have for me. And I want to invite you, when you're ready, I'm going to give us some more silence today. I didn't realize we'd have so much silence, but I talk a lot, so a little bit of silence isn't a bad thing. And also, this is a beautiful place and a beautiful environment and a beautiful atmosphere, and there's so much to be heard, even in the silence, whether that is within you, that you are discovering anew by listening to the silence, or whether that is a truth about the world that you discover by taking a moment. So what I'm going to do is I have these Post-its. I'm going to do it a little bit slightly differently this time. I have Post-its in here and pens and pencils and markers and things. So what I invite you to do is to think. About a month or so ago, I invited you to ask me questions. A lot of you asked me why evil happens and why people are jerks to each other and why we don't learn from our mistakes. If you have lingering questions about that, go ahead and ask them. If you have other questions, I invite you to ask me those. Questions, I think, are the ground of Unitarian Universalism. We are questioning people. That is the DNA of this faith, this movement, is asking questions. That is how we learn and expand our minds. That is how we are better for each other. I always think about what are the things in 200 years people are going to look back on us and say that awful thing that those people 200 years ago used to do. So I'm always asking myself the question of what is the thing that I do today that my descendants 200 years in the future would be horrified by. That's a motivating thing for me. It's sort of a negative thing, but it is a motivating thing for me. So that's why I think questions are important, because they interrogate us and change our reality and alter our reality by our questioning of it and our turning upside down of it. Asking questions together is beautiful because we have the power to exponentially broaden our horizons by asking those questions together. So I invite you to ask me questions that you want me to respond to, knowing that I may or may not get to respond to them all today. But what we're going to do is you're going to write them on Post-its and put them on the wall or on these posts, actually, so that we can all see them. And I will then respond to them, and then we're going to use some of them next week as well. So this is something we're going to do for this Sunday and next Sunday. So it could be so it's not do I prefer mousse or hair gel, or I don't know. not necessarily meant to be trivial questions, but then again, it's a bit subjective what a trivial question is. So if it feels like an important question to you, ask it. And if it's sort of a question you have that's lingering from some of my sermons over the time that we've spent together that you want me to respond to, you can ask that too. The basket is over here with the writing implements in them. I'm going to spread them over a couple of chairs. And anyone who'd like me to just bring you something, I will do that too. You can just raise your hand and I will. All right. I'm going to give you some time to do these questions and then I'll respond to them. When you have your question, when you have a question, don't put it on Pam's back. Get up and put it up here, or you could put it over here as well if you'd like to. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just hand it to me. If you don't feel comfortable with it being on display, that's okay too. Okay. Great. Yeah, just if it's. Pam, is this yours? Is this yours? Okay. Okay.
Is it illegible?
Can you tell me what it says?
It's probably me. Yes. The question is, what came first? A proton
Oh.
or that's a positively
Yeah.
charged something,
Yeah.
or an electron?
Oh,
They are
okay.
negatively charged, tiniest
Yeah.
particles.
That one is beyond my pay grade. But that's a great question. I think we'd have to ask Dr. Google to answer that question, or someone more qualified than I. That's a really great question. My favorite thing about that, though, is go ahead. Yeah, just put it anywhere. Okay. I'll take some of the ones that feel easier for me to answer. Someone asks, well, I'm going to just do those first because I feel a bit, I can get those done. Why do I use the well instead of candles for joy, sorrows, and complex truths? I love candles. I love lighting candles. I like playing with candles. I think they're beautiful. As someone who grew up going to a Catholic church, they're also very meaningful to me in a sense memory kind of way. So I don't have anything against them. I do really love the symbolism of the well as the place, like I say every week, the place where we draw strength, where we gather, that the place that nourishes us, the fact that it uses water, which is about our connection to the earth and to all things and to each other. There's just a lot of rich symbolism. There's rich symbolism behind the candles too, of course. It's also an attempt of mine to bring the different elements, which is a nod to the earth-based spirituality that informs who we are as UUs as well. So that's why I've introduced the well here as the medium for marking joys and sorrows. It also is tied to the symbolism of water communion and ingathering that we have as UUs, which is on these banners. So that is some rich symbolism that's tied into our rituals. Whether or not you continue to do that after I leave, that's up to you. I hope you'll think about it and you'll continue it, and I hope it's meaningful for you. I also just think it's beautiful to have a bowl of water up here with some objects that have been found. That's why. Yeah. Oh, you asked that question? Yeah. We haven't talked about that before now? Okay. Okay. Yeah. What percentage of a UU congregation's revenue should be donated and shared with charities in the community, or should none of it? I would not say none of it for sure. I'd say that this community doesn't pay taxes. It doesn't pay taxes because it's a charity or a nonprofit, and that means that it has a responsibility to the community to give back some of what it has. That's a very simple way that's a transactional way of looking at it, I think. I'm not gonna give you a percentage, but I think that's a really great question for conversation. But I would not say none of it, but I would say that this community exists to care for the people who are here, but also to reach out and provide something to the wider community. So I think that's part of the DNA of what this congregation is already. It does a lot of that already. I'm not saying it doesn't. So That's just my basic thought on that. That might not be the exact question, the answer that somebody was looking for. I'm just trying to take all these in. I'll think of an Italian song for next week. Whoever asked that, did you ask that question? I'll think of something for next week. It says, where's our Italian song from you? Yeah. We have a song in Italian in the hymnal, actually. Veni Spiritor Creatore, or something like that. So it's in the hymnal. Okay. Somebody asks, when ministering to someone on their deathbed, what have you seen, heard, or experienced related to their outlook on death that has left an imprint on you? I think by the time a minister gets called to someone on their deathbed, I have found that the person on their deathbed is usually not coherent enough to really the person is often, in my experience, the person who I've gone to see has often not been coherent enough or lucid enough to really have much of a conversation by the time I end up going, it's brought to my awareness, or often things happen suddenly. So what I often find is that I end up having an interaction with whoever their loved ones are who are there. And most of the time, one thing just that I've noticed is that people are often very focused on prolonging life or medical intervention to prolong life, or focused on the practical things that they can do in that moment. And this is not a judgment, it's just an observation. And that they sort of forget to just be present in those moments with that person, to what's happening, because it is so different from what a lot of people expect it to be like. It's often much more quiet and almost, and on the surface, boring and peaceful in a sense, or at least just quiet. And I think it's just an incredibly sacred time, whether or not you believe, no matter what your belief is about what happens after death or about God or anything like that, but it's just an incredibly sacred time that is just really incredibly worthy of attention. So that's the biggest thing that I could say about it. When I have been with people who are alive and dying, or know that they're dying, usually they say something like, I wish I had spent more time with this person or that person. That's the most common thing I've heard. Most people wishing that they had been more intentional with their time when they were alive. So do it now, people. That's my biggest realization from that. Do it now, because you think you have 60 years left or whatever, or you think you have 10 years or 20 years, but you don't know. And you can spend 60 years without intention, or 10 years with intention, and they might have equal impact. So easy for me to say, right? Because I'm relatively young, I suppose. Maybe that's not a fair thing for me to say. But I think about that every day, because I've lost so many people in my life from a young age. I think about my mortality every day, multiple times a day. That's probably my biggest spiritual practice, the thing that keeps me most grounded. Every day I think about the things that I stand to lose, and what I have, and how I can best use it while I have it, knowing that I might not have it tomorrow. Life is ridiculously short. There's just not enough time to answer these questions. I will, let me see how much time we have left for this. What's that? Who's timing me? We'll talk next week about you being a lay-led congregation and what we can do with that. I'm going to put some of these here that I want you to answer, okay? This question about how much you should give away, or if you should give away anything. What are the most important social justice issues for Canadian UU congregations to be addressing? I think you probably know the answer to that one already. But we'll talk about that one. I think these two go together. What does the word spiritual mean? We say we are an open-minded, open-hearted spiritual community of curious and compassionate seekers. I came up with that, so it's up to you whether or not you want to keep using that. Thank you. Thank you. I've told this to some of you, so forgive me if you've heard me say this before, but spiritual comes from the word spirit, which comes from Latin, which is spiritus, which means breath, which is where we get the word inspire, so as in inspire, inspiration, where that word comes from, meaning breath. My personal definition of the word spirit or spiritual is simply this. It's just the thing that you do that makes you remember that you are alive. The thing that gives you life, that is life-giving for you, that reminds you that you are alive for a finite amount of time, like I was saying before, and moves you to use your breath with intention, moves you to make your breath count, moves you to use, so your breath is also the thing that fuels your body. It's what fuels your cells, it's what keeps you going. With each breath, your body is asking for more time, and you are asking for more time in life, more time to make a difference. So spiritual for me is just the way of cultivating a being in the world that makes me live my life with intention and purpose and, dare I say, clarity, or at least helps me move towards that. So that's what spiritual means to me. That is my definition of spiritual. I say that I use that phrase spiritual community to describe what goes on here because that's to some degree was a marketing ploy because the word spiritual versus religious has different connotations for people. There's sort of the joke of like I'm spiritual, not religious, that thing. So I was trying to like get at that idea a little bit. The word spiritual for some people might be a turnoff too, which is totally okay if you have a negative reaction to that word. I'm not like all of words. Here's the thing about words too. Actually, I said this before, but I'll say it again. Words are what we have to communicate. We have body language, but they're I think one of the primary things we have. They are not perfect. And they mean different things for different people from different cultural contexts. And one word can be useful for someone and not for someone else. It can be harmful for someone and not for someone else. That's why we're also intentional with language too a lot of the time, to be inclusive. We know that words have an impact and can harm. And so we always have to be asking questions about them. Words and language are constantly changing as well. So, to me, the word that we ultimately choose is maybe less important than the process behind how we choose what words we're going to use. That to me is more important, and that's sort of a philosophical thing for me too. That's why I say it's less important to have the right answers, and it's more important like how we come together and the attitude that we bring to being with one another and to exploring. That's more important to me than where we arrive at. Because the destination in life is dust. Eventually, for everyone. So the thing that endures, that has substance, enduring substance, is the impact or the memory, the intention, the way of being with other people that you bring. Some more questions about being together as a community that we'll answer next week. This question about being together practically, is this you? I'm going to have to ask you more about that after, so I can come back to it next week. Okay. We'll wrap up in a second here. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. There's a question about what makes this place unique. I'll leave that one for next week because we're going to talk about where you're going next week. That's what we're doing with these questions. So I'm really happy you're asking those. When will governments /we/authority address the evils of capitalism? Will the fires do it? That's an interesting one. I think in that question to me is this idea that anytime like things are that we're reminded of the fragility of life. The pandemic did this for a lot of people too. We suddenly had this thing happen where we realized how fragile we were and how fragile life is and how our breath could harm each other. And we had this thing interrupt our daily lives. These wildfires, these fires happening right now are certainly a thing that are interrupting people's daily lives and reminding us how fragile all of this is and how it could be taken away so easily. And which maybe reminds us of the fragility, perhaps, of capitalism in a sense. There was something that reminds us that everything is destined for dust. Our bodies, this planet, is eventually destined for dust, and everything that we build up or think that we are building up. The only book of the Bible that I ever go back to is Ecclesiastes. The first part of Ecclesiastes, which says something like, all rivers run to the sea, but the sea is never full. And talks about how everything is meaningless, but meaningless is a mistranslation. It really should be vapor. What I'm trying to say is that it's interesting that the question was asked in terms of governments, because I think sometimes you do need a revolution, which is really a turning upside down, to realize how the structures that we have that are underneath everything that we do every day are just vapor. Money is pretty made up. At some point in history, it was tied to gold and silver, and it still sort of is, but it's also like a lot of it is just made up. But the effects of it are real. So it's kind of a pretend thing, but it's also very real, meaning that we have plenty on the earth to go around. We just need to do a better job of distributing it. So I don't know if I'm answering this question, but the reason that I was sort of saying today is that we have to be constantly questioning everything, and we need to do that with our structures too. I don't know if fires are enough to make people question the evils of capitalism. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could be right. um, I would say that every time that there is a crisis in the world, that it does make people question the order of things, and we know that it can be dangerous too. I mean, it was severe inflation in Germany in the 1920s, where people were, having to go take wheelbarrows full of cash to purchase the basic things that they needed, that led to the rise of Nazism. So my point being that crises that make people feel vulnerable can make them come together, but it can also make them come together against what they perceive as a common. It can make people come together, but it can make people come together at someone else's expense as well. So that's the danger in those kinds of situations too. So that's why what happens here is so important. Not to toot our own horn and say that Unitarian Universalism is great, but the more that we can cultivate a sense or remind ourselves daily that we're all interconnected and that it matters deeply how we treat each other, and that none of us are free until all of us are free, the more that we can do that, so that when things do fall apart and there needs to be a kind of new order, that it centers everyone's needs and not just the needs of the people at the top of the pyramid. So I'll leave it there for now. I have not answered all of your questions, but next week we're going to actually use these and we're going to I'll respond to some and we'll respond to some together. Yeah, there's a couple of personal questions about me. Anyone who has those questions, maybe I'd say come chat with me afterwards. I don't mind answering them. I don't mind responding to them. It's getting on. We take an offering to support the work of the congregation, and our offering this week goes to the Nova Scotia SPCA and what other organization? Okay. So the United Way and the SPCA. So this is to help people. Okay.
SPCA is just a charity that we bring some funds to, but they supply food and drinks and everything, all of.
So this is to support people affected by the fires, people and animals in our community. Yes.
Bart, we're going to do.
You just said Nova Scotia SPCA. What does SPCA stand for?
The Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
Thank you. Okay, at least this question had an answer.
I was just going to say that in response to one of those questions, I would remind you that 3 times a month we give away money, 2 times for the lunch and once for an outside charity. So today is the outside, 2 outside charities on this trip.
Okay, and thank you for that very important reminder. After the service today, I'm going to stay in here, and actually, Riley, I'm just telling you this for the first time, but I'm going to need you to pull something up on the screen. I'll help you. One of the things that I've been doing with the communications team is that we're trying to redesign our logo so that we have a way to tell the community who we are and what our values are. And so anyone who's interested in having a conversation about that and seeing some examples of the logo, you can stay in here and I'll pull them up on the screen and we'll have a little conversation about that. Talk about shoes. You had a question about shoes. We'll talk about that after. Yeah, 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 yeah. We'll talk about that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Can we sing our closing song together? Okay, you ready? We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. And my prayer for you is a peace that's true until we meet again. I'm going to share very, very brief closing words with you that I really love and just wanted to share today. Where did they go? Some of you have heard them before, but I really like them, so I'm going to use them again. Once upon a time, I was. Now I am. Someday, I will become. Once there was, and now there is. And soon there will be. And someday there surely shall be. Once upon a time we were, and now we are. And someday we shall surely become. Go in peace. Or stay for coffee.